And the only reason I'm having this conversation is because myself and many other professionals with whom I've been talking, who've been watching the argument, are sort of sitting on the sideline kind of laughing at a lot of the discussions that are going on. Because at the end of the day, you can turn $3 million upfront, untouched, with nothing else, not taking into account, dividends that you have to pay taxes on and stuff like that, which will affect you on both sides. The number runs out to $20 million after 20 years. Hello there, everybody, and welcome to another episode of your 5-Minute Friday. I'm your host, Dr. Glenn Krieger. And today I'm going to make your head explode. Well, maybe not. I hope not. But if I told you that I could give you a huge lump sum of money right now, and that would accelerate your time to retirement, would you argue with me? But what if I said that by joining an OSO, the evil OSOs, you would actually get a big lump sum of money that could help you accelerate your retirement? Suddenly, when I say that, it creates a huge uproar. You see, recently I had a post in Orthopreneurs where I talked about the fact that if you took, say, a $3 million practice, and let's be honest, we'll talk about this another time, but you take a $3 million practice, that's not a monster practice. To some of you out there, $3 million is very big. But again, I'll talk about this on another podcast episode. You took a $3 million practice with a $1 million EBITDA. Now, EBITDA is the earnings before income tax, depreciation, amortization. It's different, as I've said this so many times, between what your accountant thinks it is because they're trying to prepare your taxes versus what a private equity-backed group will tell you it is because they're looking at you as an investment. It's different. I've never, ever seen in a CPA and a PE-backed firm come up with the same number. And trust me, I've been asked to look at or spoken to people in at least hundreds of transactions. And what I will tell you is this, $1 million in EBITDA, right? And we're going to go really, really broadly on this. At a 6.5x multiple, which is not unreasonable by anybody's stretch of the imagination, we'll give you $6.5 million offering, right? And if you took $1 million in equity and $5.5 million in cash, you're going to have more than $3 million of cash to put into your retirement account. Now, if you put $3 million into your retirement account, right? If you put $3 million in your retirement account, I did the math, and you got yourself a 10% return on investment. I said 14 and people's heads were going to explode. And that's another podcast episode we should talk about is rates of return on investments because I have a completely different approach than most of you out there. But let's say you got 10% on $3 million per year and you never, ever put another penny in. You partnered with an OSO, you took your $3 million after taxes, and you put it into retirement funds or what have you. And let's not get involved in inflation and taxes because it's going to affect you across the board. The 10% you're getting on your money is the same as if you put money aside every month and you got 10% on that. And the dividends and the interest and all the other tax issues are going to affect you the same way for the most part, regardless of what model you take. So let's just throw that out and let's not get stuck in the weeds. But if I give you $3 million cash right now, how much do you need to invest every month for the next 20 years to have the same amount of money as putting the $3 million up front now and doing nothing else for the next 20 years? Now, there were people who laughed at this post thinking it was ridiculous. Run the numbers, folks. 1 + 1 = 2. 2 + 2 = 4. Right? That's the beauty of compounded interest. And again, you want to get stuck in the weeds and start talking about inflation and taxes and all that. That's great. We can run the model for both, saving the money over time or putting up front, but it affects you the same in both of them, okay? It actually, in many ways, if we get into the weeds, really affects you more if you're trying to save every single year, but we're not going to get into that. You need to put aside, I believe the number was $30,000 of after-tax dollars. That's not $30,000. It's $30,000 after-tax dollars every single month for 20 years to come out with about the same amount of money as putting $3 million into an account up front and doing nothing else after that. So when people say to me, Glenn, I would never join an OSO. It's not worth it financially. I've got the spreadsheet that I will go through with you step by step and show you why a lot of the assumptions you think are right are actually wrong. Now, there are a million reasons, and I'm using hyperbole here, why you would join an OSO or why you wouldn't join an OSO. Money's just one part of it, but for some people, and I won't be a liar about me personally, having $3 million, just as an example, to put into an account, that's going to accelerate my time to be able to have financial future. Now, I still practice the same, right? The money hasn't affected how I practice. The OSO hasn't affected how I practice. I still have my quote unquote private practice feel to everything. But don't sit there and tell me, I don't hate DSOs or OSOs, but 1 + 1 actually equals 4. No, it doesn't. The math works out. And so it was kind of fun. I sat there almost with a bucket of popcorn watching the conversation unfold. Accusations flying, specious arguments flying, emotional discussions flying. But there's no getting around the fact that all things being equal, if you give somebody a large 6-figure payout, and again, it could be $1 million in your bank account if your savings per month are going to be commensurately lower because you're making less. But putting that money in upfront is a large reason why folks like me and many others decided to join OSOs and DSOs. And the only reason I'm having this conversation is because myself and many other professionals with whom I've been talking, who've been watching the argument, are sort of sitting on the sideline kind of laughing at a lot of the discussions that are going on. Because at the end of the day, you can turn $3 million upfront, untouched, with nothing else, not taking into account, dividends that you have to pay taxes on and stuff like that, which will affect you on both sides. The number runs out to $20 million after 20 years. Now, again, if you take out the taxes, and I don't have a calculator good enough to figure out all the details, because you don't know the taxes you've got to pay, because you don't know your dividends every year. It's a specious argument again, because we can't figure that out. And now we're not working in absolutes, we're working in guess. But I know $3 million compounded in any calculator that any bank would use or any financial advisor would show is going to turn into $20 million over 20 years. You have to put in $30,000 after-tax dollars every single month, because you're not going to find any place you can put $30,000 pre-tax dollars in every single month. $30,000 after-tax dollars every single month for the next 20 years to match. That's $450,000 a year, give or take, that you're going to have to do every year for the next 20 years to match what you get with the lump sum up front. So again, there are many, 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 many good reasons not to join an OSO or to join an OSO, DSO. But the money argument, generally speaking, it doesn't hold water. So again, you want to talk more about this? Reach out to me. I'm always happy to discuss it. Full transparency. I will open up a spreadsheet that is literally 3 full pages long that will go through every single step. The only exceptions to all of this, and they're not really exceptions, because when you bring the joint venture model into the OSOs, and again, joint venture means different things to different OSOs. I can't get into that discussion here. But when you get into the joint venture model, making more money per year actually yields you more money because you still have ownership in the practice. The only place where you really can find it out of whack is if you're growing at 25% a year for multiple years in a row. And that is not most of the people that we're talking to out here on this recording right now. So again, if you're one of those who's a doubter of this, reach out to me. I'll show it to you in plain and simple math. And it's not meant to sway you to go into an OSO or not go into an OSO. I was just simply making a point that if you have the ability to put big cash up front into your retirement account, it will significantly accelerate your time to financial freedom. You're going to argue that point, that lots more money up front and compounded interest and time value of money is actually not going to accelerate your timeline to retirement? Good. The earth is flat, right? 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. The sun rises in the west. You're allowed to believe anything you want, but the data would prove otherwise. Hopefully, I'll get to see you guys on the summit, on the ship. We're closing, I think, on 950 people. Go to opsummit2024.com. I promise you it's going to be exceptional. You're going to have a great time. Hope to see you there. Have a good one.